Welcome to Muscle Car. You know, I'm really tired of pushing this thing around, and if everything goes as planned, we won't have to anymore. It's still better than when I first brought it in here. It was in a crate. Year one calls it a reproduction part. I call it a challenge to build an entire car from their catalog, starting with this new 69 Camaro body from Dynacorn. After pre-fitting paint, it slowly started to come together. Last time you saw it, we hung suspension and reassembled the body. Now, there's still a gaggle of stuff that's got to be done. And there's some things that were taken care of since the last time you saw it. But by far, the coolest thing is that. A friend of mine, Igor, came into town on some business. He did me a favor while he was here. In case you haven't noticed, he's a pinstriper. He grew up in a family sharing two passions, fast cars and fine art. Igor's destiny was obvious, since all of his school books were flamed. He's been watching the show, he fell in love with the project, and he just wanted to be a part of it. Well, he's part of the project now forever. And I just had to show that to you guys before it got hidden behind the gas tank. We got this thing from Rock Valley, and it's almost art in itself. Stainless steel, internal baffles, and they'll custom make one for anything you got. Now that the gas tank is in, I can finally run my exhaust. Because what I'm going to do is fab my own, and for a couple of good reasons. Being that nothing under here is stock, I want to make sure it clears everything. Not to mention, I like to keep it up against the body so I don't have any clearance issues. If you haven't done this before, it's not that difficult. You just take one piece at a time and make it go where you want it to. I'm using what remains of this 2 1/4 exhaust kit that was left over from a previous job. I place the Flowmasters where I want them, then I make the pipe come to end. Well, it's been pretty easy up until this point, but now it gets tough. And in my opinion, first-generation Camaros and Novas are the biggest pain to get it over the rear end and out the back. If you watched me make the headers for old Blue Hair a few weeks ago, it's really the same process. With both sides done, finish it off. Last time you saw the engine, we finished up the coolant and the AC system. All that's left is the electronics. Not bad considering it too came in a crate. It's a 350 ZZ4 small block from GM Performance. It's good for 350 horse-feet for the Edelbrock Performer RPM manifold and their 600 CFM car. All flowing through some block hugger headers from Sanderson and topped off with a vintage air front runner serpentine setup. Now, I've already installed my Mallory Unilight distributor and the coil. Now it's time for my L460E transmission control module from GM. Now, these overdrive transmissions have become really popular in the last few years because everybody knows you're taking it in the rump when you're at the pump. After the engine's fired up, we'll program it with our laptop. Now that my plug wires are in place, it's time to put in my battery. Now, I'd love to hook this baby up and fire it up, but I can't. Because I got to take care of that spaghetti factory where my dashboard's at. Now, I was going to run a stock dash setup, but I decided to go with this one from Covan. It's an injected plastic, and it's even textured like the original ones. And they sell a full line of odometer gauges. I decided to go with the ultralights because they're silver-faced, so they match the stripes. Now, all this wiring, it may look intimidating, but it's really not. Painless does a really good job of marking the wires all throughout the car. And another thing, nobody's repopping these heater control switches. So I went to the junkyard and found myself a good one. Our focus right now is to get just enough done to test fire the engine. That includes putting in the shifter, because we all know that guy who expanded his garage by starting one in gear. This one came from Locar. It's compact, durable, and easy to install. Now, before I hook up that battery, I'm going to put butt connectors on all my loose wirings, just in case any of them get hot. Then I'm going to do all my fluid levels, and don't go away, because when you come back from the break, we're turning the key.
Next on Muscle Car, this is what we've been waiting for.
Go.
The Crate Camaro wakes up.
Glad to see you guys made it back. You're just as curious to see if this thing is going to fire as I am. I got it all wired up. I'll finish up my fluids, and we'll see if we got a hand grenade on our hands. Now, it's been a long time coming, almost a year as a matter of fact, and there's still a lot of cosmetics that have to be done on this thing, but we want to fire it up so you can hear it today. Hit it, Tommy. All right. Remember, this is a new engine. It's never been fired, so it's going to take a little bit of priming and a little bit of timing to wake it up. Go. It's alive! Underneath, I found no leaks. All the gauges are working, and to top it off, the engine sounds solid. Man, that's some good news. The mechanical end of this thing is done, so I can put all my attention to the rest of the project so we can get it on the road. Let's finish off the dash, starting with the pad and the vents, and the remaining switches. Like the seats, some things are not repopped. We got the ashtray and the glove box from Rick's first generation Camaro. And finally, this trim panel and the old chute handle, because you never know when the chute might hit the fan. Now, last week we pre-fit all the mechanical stuff for the convertible top. Now, it's not that it's a difficult job, it's just really time-consuming. So I'm not going to tear it out to show you how to put it all in, but I will show you how it works. A small electric motor turns a hydraulic pump, which creates flow that activates both the cylinders to raise and lower the top. Now, it just fell right into place, no major alignment issues. But the cover, that's a whole different story. It's got to be on there nice and tight so there's no wrinkles. So you got to push and pull just to get it to look right. So you might want to do what I'm going to do and go find an upholstery guy. And you're going to have him do something else for you because nobody's repopping seats. So you're going to have to go out, get yourself a good set of used ones, and then you just can't have them covered. Let me show you why. Because they don't fit. So that only means one thing. It's time for some modifications. Now, all I got to do, because these tubs take up so much room, is measure out where I want my seat to go, and it's time for some fun. Now, I'm going to have to take a full 6 inches out of this seat, and these corners here are really hard to recreate, and so is this middle part. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take some out of here, and I'm going to have to take some out of here. With the end pieces in place, I can confirm how big the center should be. This is some thin metal you're working with here. I prefer a TIG welder because I can control the heat a little bit better. Now, how's that for flying by the seat of your pants? Let's see if this baby fits. I knew it would. Now it's the same thing for the back of the seat, and then it's off to the upholstery shop. Now we can finish the rest of the interior. Outside of a little trimming, everything is pretty much an easy fit. We had a whole bunch of options for the front seats, but we kept it stocked with new skins for some old originals. To avoid a common mistake, door handles on before the windows. The door glasses are a breeze to find. The rear quarters are a little bit more difficult. However, they're both tedious and time-consuming to put in. Now, 80% of these parts came from year one. We did, however, have to get some parts from some other vendors. Rick's first generation Camaro, Classic Industries, Covan, and Autometer. There you have it. The interior is about 90% done. Now, I missed some stuff because there's a lot of parts here, and that's okay. So keep a list as you go along. If I'm half as lucky on the exterior, you're going to see this baby rolling down the road.
Coming up on Muscle Car, the Crate Camaro hits the street. And next, we're going to see a rare Mopar that was born to burn rubber.
Today we're going to look at a car that's from my neck of the woods, the Bronx, New York. Back in the day, we had some ridiculous street racing going on, and this one was right up front. 69 Hemi Super B. It was born to run.
Today's Muscle